Welcome to the Pursuit of Wellbeing. My name's Maria Brosnan. I'm the founder of Pursuit and your host for the show. We're dedicated to providing wellbeing information, inspiration and support for teachers, leaders and school staff around the world. My guest today is Therese Hoyle. Therese has over 25 years teaching experience in mainstream and special education. Since 1996, Therese has worked nationally and internationally with over 450 schools and 14,500 individuals. She's inspired them with her programs Flourishing Schools, Keys to Wellbeing, Positive Playtime, Circle Time, Positive Behaviour Management, Emotional Literacy and Leadership Coaching programs. Therese has a passion for creating positive school environments and for supporting children in reaching their full and true potential. I love that. Therese, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Maria. That's a lovely welcome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Great to have you here. I know that you work with everybody in the school environment, from children to teachers to leaders. And I think it's a good place to start that we're all coming back to schools. I know most schools haven't shut at all, but we're at the beginning of the new academic year in 2020. What should we be looking for to support everybody across school, but mainly for this podcast we're talking about teachers and leaders? Can you start to talk about what would support people in those roles as we come back into schools?
I think it's just being really mindful of our own well-being as we come back into school. We're so good as teachers, we jump in, we're keen, we're enthusiastic, we're ready to get into the school year, and we've had a lovely 6-week holiday where hopefully teachers have recharged, they've disconnected from work, they've had time for themselves. And there is I know for myself when I was teaching, there's such a great danger of just going, hell for leather, let's, get in with the kids. And then we forget ourselves. We let ourselves go. We forget to take pause moments to take care of ourselves. We don't have a lunch break. We keep going till 6 o'clock and leave school, and then we're marking at home. Although that is changing at the moment with what's going on. But actually we just let go of our own self-care, and then what happens is we get to half term, we're absolutely exhausted, and it's often when we get sick too. Yeah. So actually my what I'd love to see is leaders just taking, and teachers taking, being really mindful of their own self-care as we're going through the day. What pause moments are they taking for themselves? What healthy habits have they got in place? Are they eating healthily? Are they having enough water? Are they taking a lunch break? What are they? Are they taking a walk around the block at lunchtime to get out of the building? What are they actually doing for themselves? Because we are so amazingly good at giving, and like everything, I know for myself as a teacher, I burnt out twice in my career, so I have had to work really hard on this, and I think that's why I teach it now too. But I just think if we keep giving out, as we all know, if you keep giving out, don't put anything in, then you end up on empty. So we have to.
It was something I want to pick up on something you said there. You said so many wonderful things already, but when you said pause moments, talk us through, what do you mean by a pause moment?
Well, I think a lot of us in life, we speed through. We're often what I call hurry sickness, and we don't stop to smell the roses, classic expression, but life just then starts to happen to us because we haven't spent enough time actually working out where we're going. And when we take pause moments, we have more control of our life. And pause moments can be just time in the day where you just pause and you stop and you think, check in with your body, like, how am I feeling? Are my shoulders tense? Okay, I need to relax them a bit. My head's gone really racy. I'm just kind of racing. Often our body's still, but our mind's racing. So, how can we actually still that ourselves just for a few minutes? And pause moments can happen even when you're just doing the washing up. So you're just taking a little, going more slowly, being more gentle with your body, softening your body, and just taking a gentle breath as well. So you're kind of breathing in and breathing out and just connecting back to yourself, which is so important because most of us are not in our bodies most of the time. We're in our heads.
Exactly. And we miss so much. And our bodies really give us so much information, don't they? When our shoulders are tight and when our breathing is really shallow, that's a sign. It's, you know, our body's giving us clues that we need to do something. I find myself, when I loved the image of just being, that we're racing. And I find with myself, when I'm in that kind of racing mode, just to physically force myself, if I'm writing, say, for example, just to slow down my writing. It makes seconds difference in what I'm actually doing, but just to consciously slow down really does help calm down, doesn't it?
I love that, Marie. Yes, so much. I've had to work really hard on this, Jim, and I just did it now too. But just even opening a door, we race, don't we? But just actually, let's hold the door and open it slowly. And when we put the taps on, we're washing our hands all the time now. So, you know, when we're putting the taps on, do it slowly. Don't race, you know, because our bodies are in such a hurry in schools. I know for myself when I'm in school and I've taught, we're just always that hurry sickness. We're in that, but just those moments, going to the toilet is a perfect moment. You're pausing. So yeah, just, you know, take your pause moment, turn the tap on, but do it gently, do it slowly. Those can be your moments. So yes. Yeah.
I have a friend actually, and he loves cycling, and he goes for cycles on Sunday mornings, and you know, it's all about the speed and getting where he's going really fast and back and checking in with his timer and all of that stuff. And one morning he was doing that and he just felt exhausted, and he thought, you know what, I'm just not going to race this morning, because he was only racing himself. And he was racing, there's a track along the beach, and he noticed the birds. And he noticed someone was doing, you know, paragliding, parasailing. And so he just slowed down enough to see these things. And he got to the end, and he went down to the end of the pier, and he came back. And when he got back, he'd realised that his cycle was only 2 minutes longer than normal anyway. But he'd enjoyed it so much more. And you make such a beautiful point that when we slow down, it's not really going to take us much more time to wash our hands slowly or open the door just more consciously or more slowly. But the difference it makes in our body is huge.
It is huge. And we're just connecting back to ourselves. And you remind me of a time when we used to live in New Zealand, and I remember climbing a mountain there. And I was with a crowd who were avid walkers and hikers, and I was really slow because I just kept wanting to, because they're beautiful flowers, and I was like, why are they racing to the top? And they were just, their aim was just to get to the top. Yes. And I think, you know, sometimes we're like that in school. Our aim is to get to lunchtime. Our aim is to, get everything done before the end of playtime, lunchtimes. Yeah. So yeah, let's not race so much. Let's be slower.
Yeah. Lovely. And you said something else that was lovely about going for a walk at lunchtime. A lot of teachers feel that that's not possible or practical. Talk us through how your approach to that.
I actually was in a school working, doing my Flourishing Schools Day on Monday, and it was their inset day, and I was just talking to them about actually sometimes just getting out of the school building can be so good for us. You know, get a bit of vitamin D, walk around the block, just get away from, you know, we can walk with a friend if you want to have a chat with a friend, but try not to talk about what's going on in the classroom, try and talk about something else, but just take that time to get out of the school building, get some fresh air, listen to the birds. You know, that our senses often, when we're busy, our senses aren't alive. So it's like, you know, what you can hear, like you were saying, what you can smell, taste, touch, all of you make those senses come alive, because that way we shut down the voices in our head too. So on that walk, you could think about, you know, what can I smell, what can I see, what can I touch, what can I hear, and just, you might be, take a cup of tea with you, but just make it an enjoyable experience, and that time to just get away, get out of the building, and clear your head before you go back in to be with the children. Because actually, when we're in that good place, who is it that actually picks that up when we get back into the classroom? I think we all know, don't we?
Exactly.
It's our children. You know, they're real lightning conductors of our mood. So when we're regulated, then they are too. And I know the teachers I was speaking to the other day, I was like, yes, when you're having a bad day, then who is it who picks it up? it's the children, and usually their behaviour is a bit off the wall when that's the case.
Yeah. And to pick up on one point about going for a walk, that's even probably more practical and useful given the situation with staff rooms at the moment, that it's not always possible, or every school has got a different situation with their staff room, but certainly it's not a place that everybody can go at lunchtime. So getting outside could be a really good option in the short.
Yeah, lovely idea too, and just maybe having a lunch outside if the weather's okay.
Yeah.
But even if it's it's a grey day, it's still nice to get outside.
Yeah. And then back to your point about regulation, because we talk a lot about, as teachers and educators, helping our children and young people, especially in primary school, but to learn to self-regulate and to take a breath and to count to 10 or to say you're sorry, and all of these things that we teach children to do, we sometimes forget to do for ourselves. So can you talk a little bit more about self-regulation? You've already given us some beautiful ideas, but what else can we do to take on that idea of self-regulation?
Yeah, it comes back to ourselves and our own self-care again, because we can only co-regulate with children when we're regulated ourselves. So I've got some my Wellbeing toolkit, which I know you're going to have in the show notes, but I talk about having daily habits and setting up habits in your day where you're really giving to yourself. So having at least three times in your day where you take time for yourself, and that might mean you wake up in the morning. Just recently actually I've been getting up half an hour earlier just so that I can do a bit of Pilates, or I can take the dog for a walk, or do something that can help me. And I know so many of my clients are doing the same as well, just getting up in the morning, having a little walk, doing some meditation, to really take care of themselves. And then like we just said, take time out at lunchtime. So many teachers and leaders particularly too, when they go back, when we leave school, we often take boxes, briefcases home with all our work in. And I just think and then we go back home and we end up working too. But actually, where is the disconnect as well? How can we disconnect? And sometimes for many teachers, they're going home to families and the busyness of home as well. So you're leaving school and where's your pause moment between home and school? And I know some of my clients actually, before they get home, they stop off. They might stop in a little car park. They might stop to look, a beautiful view over a lake or river or whatever. We don't all have that, but sometimes they'll just stop in a little car park to just take time for themselves before they get home. So it might just be 5 minutes, pause time for yourself to breathe, to kind of get your head up together around the day, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, maybe how that could, we can deal with that tomorrow. But that connecting back to ourselves, and then just maybe a couple of minutes to just take some deep breaths, I often talk about gentle breaths, of breathing in really gently and breathing out gently, and then then can kind of go, well, actually I'm ready now to go home. I'm ready to deal with the children and have time with my kids, because that's what we want to do too when we get home. We want to be that wonderful person that we can be, rather than that tired, exhausted person who's had a really busy day. So actually, how can we replenish ourselves just before we get home? And there is that, we are so good sometimes at taking so much work home. So actually there's a reality sometimes, let's see if we can get it all done in school so we don't have to take it home. Sometimes we take that box into our homes and then it pulsates, guilt at us all night. We haven't done it, we don't do anything with it, but it just, have you ever had that?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's just hanging over your head like some awful box of guilt. Yeah.
It is, and it just drains our energy. So often I say to staff, just leave it in the boot. If you need it, go out and get it, but don't put it in your living room, so it's doing that pulsating guilt at you. So because there are energy drains, and we want to eliminate as many energy drains from our lives as we can. Yeah,
tell us more about energy drains.
Yeah, often on
the toolkit, and I will put a link to it. It's a lovely free toolkit.
Thank you.
Tell us, what do you mean by an energy drain, and how can we eliminate them?
Well, often in my courses and it's in my toolkit too, is I talk about something called toleration, being toleration free. So it's about getting rid of the things that are draining your energy. And often we just don't take time for that. And so on a lot of courses, online courses I've run over lockdown, people have said to me, oh my goodness, that was the best thing I could have done to work out what were the things that were draining my energy, because they're quite a lot. And I sometimes get clients to write them all down, and they can come up with up to 50. But I don't know if you've had situations where you've got, many of us have got toasters that haven't worked for years. They're in the garage, we still haven't got rid of them, or kettles. And actually, we need to do a good old garage clear out, get rid of things that are draining our energy. In fact, I was talking to some friends a couple of weeks ago, and they said to me, oh, we're doing a garage clear out. So I was like, oh, it really inspired me. So the other week I did it, and it was really interesting, because I still have things from, I'm divorced now, but I had things from when I with my ex-partner, and they were his things, and I just thought, I just don't need these in my environment anymore. So I took them all to the dump, and it was amazingly freeing and clearing. And I just think, sometimes, and it's things like that, where we've got things around us that are energetically draining us. When we look at them, maybe they reflect somebody or something that wasn't so pleasant in our life. And actually, by getting rid of them, we don't ever have to think about them again, and that can be healthy. And other things like, I don't know if you've ever started to paint a wall and got the tester paint. But I know for myself that, many years ago, I used to live in London, so I got the tester paints, put them on the wall, and they were on the wall for about 9 months. But every time I passed it, I kept thinking, oh, I need to paint.
Must do the wall, yeah.
And that's a drain. And so when eventually I decided to hire somebody to come and paint, because there's no way I was going to have the time to paint. So it's things like that, when we make the decision, actually, I keep looking. Every time I look at it, it drains my energy. I need to do something about it. A client of mine, she's a chess consultant, and she cleared up her office, and she said it was really interesting because people perceived her differently. They kept coming in being much more respectful. It's just a really different working atmosphere. So it can be those just really little things that we just need to sort out. And we might need a towel rail in our bathroom because people are dumping towels on the floor. So little things. So what I'd suggest is anybody looking today is think about what in your life, think about 5 to 10 things that actually are draining your energy right now, and write them on the in the worksheets that you can download, and clear them up. Sort them out, get rid of them.
I love that. And another way, when I work with clients, I have a similar idea, but things that are in your environment, say if you're trying to lose weight, for example, or you're trying to cut down on sugar or coffee or things like that, get them out of your environment.
Yeah.
Don't have a bowl of sweets or a plate of biscuits in the staff room. If you really don't want to eat sugar, then take it away, so it's not kind of draining you. You have to make a decision every time. Oh, should I have one? Just one? Okay, 2. And you have to keep making these decisions. If you don't want to eat it, then take it out of your environment, and then you just don't have to make that decision. And it's another way of just stopping that decision fatigue and that draining.
That is so true. Actually, it makes me laugh, actually, because I was at my partner's this weekend at his house. He's off sugar, and I was like, have you got any biscuits? Have you got? It's like, no, there's nothing in the house with any sugar.
But then it takes the choice away, doesn't it?
It was very good for me. So.
Great. Well, let's get back into the staff room. And how can we look at creating, you talk about creating a clear self-care action plan that can support you in creating health and vitality and a positive mindset. Can you talk us through some ideas on how people can do that?
So I think we've talked about, what I'd say so far, we've talked about tolerations, getting rid of those. That's step 1.
Yeah.
Step 2, creating pause moments.
Yeah.
Step 3, I'd say, is thinking about your daily habits. So we've said having at least 3 times in your day where you're thinking about giving to yourself. And setting those up. In the worksheets you'll find some information about daily habits. It might be just a daily habit at the end of the day where you have a beautiful bath and with lovely essential oils, like you said, eating healthily, cutting out your sugar. But yes, just thinking about you might be at the end of the day going for a lovely walk. I know quite a lot of people I spoke to over lockdown have put walks into their day, many people were cutting off work at 5 o'clock and then just going, and I know I did with my daughter too, we just always go for a walk at 5 o'clock. And I just think, put something into your plan in terms of taking care of yourself at the end of the day too, where, if you've got children, having time away from them too, and that might be in a lovely bath where nobody's allowed in, just you. But something for you in terms of those daily habits, but also have something what I call a weekly care plan, which is where I suggest staff go into Wellbeing Wells. And it comes from the concept of the World Health Organization has the concept of teacher wellbeing encompasses. They've got 5, which is physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and I've got a 6, which is creative as well. So it's thinking about mentally, what you're doing to mentally take care of yourself. And I suggest and just go back and go into the worksheets as well, the Wellbeing Toolkit, and have a little look if you're watching right now, and think about what are you doing really well. Praise, it's so important for us to look at what we're doing well and praise ourselves, because we can be so harsh on ourselves and have a really strong inner critic. So working on that in terms of saying, well, what am I doing well? Where mentally am I taking care of myself? Am I good socially, emotionally? Have I had time with family and loved ones? Have I got a good social network? People who support me. And I think teachers are under so much pressure right now, so much stress, that actually connection is very important. And I think that's what worried me when I was in school at the beginning of the week, was actually, it does worry me with coronavirus, how we can't hug each other, we can't, in classrooms as well, we're not always children facing the front. We all need connection, eye connection. We all do need touch too. But how are we connecting? And I think before I came on, I mentioned that there's a local teacher who has committed suicide, which has just been absolutely dreadful. But I just think, actually, if only she'd reached out and talked and socially connected with somebody else and asked for help. It's really difficult often to ask for help, but maybe if somebody else, we need to attune to each other. When people's behaviours change too, because often we can see, when that going into that social emotional, well, if a member of your family, their behaviours start to change, they're more angry, they cry more. Another colleague of yours you notice is angry or cries more. Tune into them, try and find out what's going on and what support they need, because actually that could make all the difference to their lives too.
Yeah, because what we've spoken about so far, some people might be listening to this and feeling like, it might be a bit frivolous or a bit silly to go for a walk or have a bath or connect with people, but you tell a devastating story of a teacher that's committed suicide, and it's very sobering to think that this is real, that the pressures that people are feeling are real, and it's not something, we often feel quite lonely when we're feeling down. It feels like it's only us. But if we can just take a tiny step to reach out, to do something for ourselves, to reach out, to just tell somebody, and I know the Education Support Partnership will put the number for them. They have a very good helpline. So if you're feeling anything like that you can't cope in any way, please reach out for help. It's a plea from us that this is not light and fluffy stuff we're talking about when we're talking about wellbeing.
No, it's serious. And I just, I think there is, I know I had a family member over COVID. We lost my stepdad, and one of my family members, his behaviour changed. And I, spoke to my mum about it, and actually he was suffering with depression and not, it was just been a really hard time. And actually by noticing that change in behaviour, we're able to just put support in. But actually it's that we talk about attuning to children, but sometimes we need to not only attune to children, we need to attune to each other, whether it's family, whether it's our colleagues, clients, whatever. It's about that attunement of, are they okay?
Yeah, and especially, at schools, as I said earlier, staff rooms are not the hub of the school for the time being anyway. So we need to make extra efforts not just the senior leaders going down and checking in on the teachers, it's the teachers as well. We're all equals in this in terms of taking care of ourselves. We need, of course, to take that personal responsibility, but just to be a bit aware and treat each other with perhaps a bit more kindness or toleration or tolerance, compassion, give each other just a bit more space, because everybody's doing the best we can do.
Oh, right. And you know what, I often say, it's always the small things that matter. It's never the big things. So it's the little things that people do. It's, you know, I've seen colleagues bring in chocolates for somebody when they've had a down day. I know for myself, when I was still teaching, I was having a very challenging time with a teenage daughter, who's a wonderful daughter now.
Yes.
And I remember, a colleague put flowers in my room, and I just was like so touched. It just made my day. And so, you know, it doesn't have to ever be anything major. It's just the fact somebody's thought about you or sent you a little note, or, you know, I often talk about setting up kindness buddies in school too. So somebody makes you a cup of tea, and you know, you often have the secret Santas where you set somebody up, and you know, you pull names out of hats, and you don't know who it is who's going to be kind to you. And yes, and in the winter months, that person might say, "Oh, can I do your playground duty?" or bring you a cup of tea, or leave a just kind note on your desk, but just check in with you. So it's really, really important at the moment. All the stats, you know, all the research around kindness shows that when we're actually kind to somebody else, that actually releases all the endorphins in our own body as well. So we get all, they often say it's referred to as a bit of a morphine high from being kind to somebody else. So
it's so true. We can feel it, and there is a lot of research, and that's long lasting. The benefits of being generous and just very small random acts of kindness to other people have a huge impact on our well-being. And talk to me more about rewards and appreciation. Is there anything else that you would want to say about how do we need to set that up more formally in school, or what would you recommend for that?
I really would suggest now, and I've been suggesting it to my school for a long time now, but it is that we meet at least every half term, preferably every 3 weeks right now, but at least every half term, to have, you know, I work on developing coaching circles in schools, and I do it with children, but we need to do it as a staff, where we're not talking about the curriculum, we're actually checking in and talking about ourselves and what we're doing to take care of ourselves, and we're actually, you know, we can appreciate each other as well. I often get staff to think about when was the last time they were appreciated at school. Yeah, and it's just so gorgeous when people say, well, yeah, Sally over there, she was, you know, notice I did this amazing display, and you see teachers just light up because somebody has actually praised them, and you see how important it is. And sometimes I see teachers, you know, I've had head teachers say to me, and I've talked to conferences, and I've had head teachers say, I remember vividly a head teacher standing up and saying, I'm just about to leave the profession. And I've had flowers, I've had letters, I've had emails, I've had beautiful cards, but actually I needed these before.
Yeah.
Actually, I've just had, you know, so I'm always dealing with problems, I'm firefighting, and actually I would have loved to have all this appreciation before, because maybe it might have made me stay in the profession a bit longer. So actually, I just think actually our heads, really, you know, please remember to value your heads for what they're doing, because they've got a really, really hard job. And yes, but they're often the ones that get forgotten, because they're at the top of the tree, and they often say to me, because I coach a lot of head teachers, and they say to me, you know, actually, you know, I no idea if I, you know, what people think of me, and you know, sometimes their confidence dips too, because actually they just need a little bit of feedback that they're doing the right thing. And I've had some heads through lockdown, because they said, actually, our communication systems have been amazing. We've really, really, you know, we've met regularly on Zoom, which, you know, they've had those meetings together. And they said to me, oh, you know, our relationships are so strong. And actually, I feel really appreciated, because I've had more appreciation than I've ever had. So, you know, it's been really wonderful to hear that from head teachers.
And I think what we've learned most of us, I would hope, through this experience of lockdown and all of the various things that have happened throughout the academic year so far, is that well-being is so important. You know, we've paid lip service to it for many, many years. We've both worked in this area for a long, long time. And people kind of think that it's yoga and yogurt, right, that we put on free things from time to time. And it's well-meaning and it's good. But it's so much more than that. It's so much deeper. And this feels like a golden opportunity for us to take it seriously, to care for each other, to care for ourselves, and the ripple effect of that out to our students, to our families, to our community is unimaginable.
It's worth thinking about, you know, how could our world be different if we all cared for each other, all looked after ourselves, or to really, really focus on our own well-being, because it's not being selfish. And I think a lot of people, us, you know, I came from a generation where you take care of yourself. Actually, it's selfish, but actually, you know, it is. We can't give to others. We can't pour from it if we aren't taking care of ourselves. We're a bit like a bank balance. If there's zero in the bank, you can't draw anything out. So it's essential.
Yeah, and well, to extend that metaphor, or we go into debt, and that debt then we pay back at half term when we're exhausted or burnt out, and the implications of that are serious, and we need to take them seriously. Yeah.
And we are seeing more health problems. I think that's, let's not increase those statistics. Let's lower them.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of our conversation. Therese, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I think I'd suggest that anybody watching this just dips into the Wellbeing Toolkit, has a look and works through, has to look at some of those worksheets, and are very welcome to contact me and Maria about them too. It's just great to talk about this with you, Maria, and just reinforce how important it is, particularly at this point in the school term.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Well, my guest today has been Therese Hoyle. She's the best-selling author of 101 Playground Games, 101 Wet Playtime Games. I would love to see those games. And contributing author of How to Be a Peaceful School. Just the title of that makes me feel peaceful. All of these are available through her website, which is theresehoyle.com, and I'm sure they're available in other places as well. Is that right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're on Amazon. So.
Okay, fantastic, great. And plus she's got many wonderful free resources on her website, including the Wellbeing Toolkit we've referred to through this podcast. You can connect with Therese on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook at Therese Hoyle. Therese, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you, Maria. It's been delightful talking with you.
Thanks so much for watching. Check out our website, pursuitwellbeing.com, for information about our 5-step Wellbeing Action Plan for teachers and school leaders. There's a link in the description below. Or take our free Teacher Anxiety Quiz at teacheranxietyquiz.com. The quiz only takes a couple of minutes and you'll get a better understanding of where you are today, plus tips to immediately feel better. I'd love you to connect with me on Twitter at Maria Brosnan. And if you enjoyed the show, please hit the subscribe button. If you feel inspired, give us a thumbs up, comment, and share it with your friends.